Your home for the NBA Finals is 252 ESPN Radio. Coverage will begin Thursday night right here. I think we've got the NBA draft too. We're your NBA radio station here in Eastern North Carolina. We don't carry the Hornets though.
You see Steve Clifford signed with the Magic.
Steve Clifford got a job.
I think he's a good coach.
I do too.
Well,
I think he's in the same exact situation that he was 4 or 5 years ago when he took the Hornets job, though.
Yeah, I mean, they'll be better.
yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, you just got to hope you strike gold. Orlando's been lucky twice. Shaq was the best that team, and then the year they had Dwight Howard and Kevin Garnett got hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, all of that being said, we're not going to talk Magic. We're going to talk Boston Celtics and what can they do this offseason. So they go to Game 7. I was telling Sam, they were so cold at the end of that game. Could not hit a shot.
Those guys were so
scared. Do you
scared.
feel like that was Game 7?
Yep.
Like, whoa, like
pressure.
This is it. We got to come up with a big shot.
100% pressure. And it was interesting, the series before, everybody goes crazy over Brad Stevens. Just unbelievable play calls. He outcoached Philly the whole time. He's the man. Well, you watch that Game 7 and you go, again, they're missing. Rozier's awful. Jaylen Brown is scared to death. So you're going, okay, coach, get the ball into Tatum's hands. They couldn't guard him. And yet Marcus Smart's jacking up threes like crazy. So my point is players have a lot to do with how good a coach looks. So they executed against Philly. Coach is brilliant. So the Game 7 here, they missed shots, and all of a sudden the coach, why didn't he drive the ball? Why didn't he get it in Tatum's hands? Why didn't he do this and that? And so coaches could probably get a little bit, too much, little credit and blame when players got to make shots. And they were a lot of wide open shots.
Interesting that during the break, we were talking about Kyrie Irving. Sam brought up that the Celtics should just trade him away, and you dismissed that last week.
In my defense, that was 2 weeks ago, and the Celtics have not quite looked as good without him in the meantime.
And of course, now most Celtics fans feel like, well, we certainly needed Kyrie, certainly in that fourth quarter. But you were talking during the break, him not being present.
That's more troubling than anything.
Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I don't understand why any player who's injured is not, especially at a home game, not at a playoff. I don't get that. Then you throw into it, it's Game 7. Why would you not be there? And then you're playing Cleveland. You have spent the last 5 years or whatever he did there. You played for that coach. You know the players. You can be in Rozier's ear. You can be whatever guy's saying, hey, this is what they're going to run, this, that. How is he not there helping his teammates? And his excuse was surgery. He couldn't have had it a week or two later. That was really troubling that he did not sit on the bench for Game 7. Just like we talked about a couple weeks ago, I'd be reluctant to trade for Kawhi Leonard because if a guy can sit there and do that to his teammates, and to me, there's nothing more. You can butt heads with management. You can butt heads with coaches. You can butt heads with your wife. You don't butt heads with your teammates. And I thought both of them did things where, they bailed on their teammates. And I think Kyrie bailed on his teammates.
Yeah, I guess the thing that
would have driven me nuts. If I'm an older guy, if I'm Horford or any of those guys, I'm furious that guy wasn't there on the bench.
And I think I feel the same way if I'm the younger guy, especially, number one is Jason Tatum, who is obviously a superstar. I wouldn't even want to say superstar in the making. Like, he's arrived. He's here. Jason Tatum is a superstar in this league. He's a guy who is similar to, I think, Terry Rozier going forward, has earned a lot of extra touches and a lot of extra playing time. We were sort of making the joke of Kyrie Irving has a problem, it seems, when he is not the man on the team, when the team does not belong to him. And, we thought it was Brad Stevens' team. It looks like it's becoming Jason Tatum's team. Al Horford is still kind of the residing elder statesman. Kyrie Irving seems to get his feelings
coming
hurt.
back.
Yeah, Hayward's coming back. Like, it's troublesome.
It was shocking.
It really
I'd be
is.
furious. I'd have been furious. And I know Danny Ainge, he's a tough guy and played with tough guys. I'm sure Ainge behind the scenes is ticked off. I would be.
Well, Ainge said in the post game or the day after press conference that he didn't plan on getting rid of 11 players last year at the end of that season, but opportunities presented themselves. And he said the idea is to keep the core intact for next year. But I am interested because this is also the same guy who talks openly about how heartbreaking it was when he got traded away to Sacramento or something, and how in his conversations with Red Auerbach, Red wishes he would have traded Larry and Robert Parrish earlier than and kept the franchise going. I think he's a guy who is going to be open to the idea, as much as it seems ridiculous that we would say trade Kyrie. He may be open to it.
I'm listening. I'm listening to calls, and not just him bailing on Game 7. The guy hadn't finished the season. He's finished one season in the last 5. He's injury prone, and some of those injuries sometimes have been questioned a little bit about how severe was it. So Kyrie has lost a lot. I mean, he was destroying people during the season, and like you make a good point. I think he liked it. And then all of a sudden he became the forgotten guy in the playoffs, and Rozier played well, and Tatum's becoming the man, and he may have had a little hissy fit. And I'm going to listen to other people. And the other one is you going forward. Marcus Smart's a free agent. I'm letting him walk. And I know he does tough guy things, and that.
No, but those shots kill you. Yeah.
He kills you with the shots. And I'm letting him walk. I'm not paying him $15 million he talked about in the locker room after they lost.
Yeah, Kyrie's making 18, if that puts it in any sort of perspective.
Yeah,
and he's underpaid. But I'm letting Smart walk. I mean, you've still got your core, and then you've still got somebody's pick this year.
Yeah,
and then somebody's like next year. I mean, you've got. He's got enough guys out there. He's got enough to make that one trade to really. And everybody's made this huge deal about LeBron. I can't believe you won the East. I can't believe Boston was missing their 2 best players. I mean, he beat a decimated Boston team, and you can say the other guys play well. End of the day, they were missing their 2 best players, and they went to Game 7. So I think LeBron's been phenomenal. But I also think the teams he's beaten have been trash this year.
All right, so I'm going to throw this out there. If you were Boston, would you take Kemba Walker and a series of draft picks for Kyrie Irving? And would that make you a better team?
I don't know what draft picks you're getting from the Hornets, though. You're not getting a whole lot, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying Kyrie's probably going to grade out a little bit higher than Kemba.
Right.
For whatever reason, even though Kemba's probably more durable and can play the whole season and can provide you points. I mean, if I'm looking out there for a guard who might be on the market.
That's a good.
And then maybe you probably have to swap because Charlotte would see what you're trying to do and how Kemba may fit your system better, and you may have to give up a draft pick to it. Maybe a pick in Kyrie for a pick in Kemba. And like I was saying, it may be just a second-round pick or some sort of.
How old's Kemba?
I think he's 28. Let me double-check on that.
I think I make that trade if I'm Boston.
Because
I think you're going to get.
And it changes Charlotte.
He's 28, yeah.
You're going to get, let's say, 70% of his offense.
Right.
But that with Haywood coming back and these guys blossoming, maybe that's all you need is 70%. But you're also going to get twice the defensive player because Kyrie is awful on defense and doesn't care.
I just think
that's an interesting trade.
We have no idea what Danny Ainge is going to do because, like you said, he flipped the roster and got rid of 11 guys over the last year from what he had a year ago. And so if you look at the free agency contracts he has coming up, we talk about you were mentioning how he said Auerbach regretted not trading Russell or not trading Larry Bird. Who's to say that Al Horford isn't a potential contract to dangle out there and trade? I mean, Al Horford still is under contract through the 2021 season. The Celtics are on the hook for about $30 million a year from him. That's a lot to commit to a guy who's just getting older. Al Horford is kind of peaked, right? I don't think we're going to see a better Al Horford.
He's got his old man game going these playoffs, just pump fakes and things like that, and he's only going to get less athletic.
As of right now, in this year's draft, the Celtics only have the number 27 overall pick. They don't have any second-round picks. That's just for this year.
Okay.
But for next season, they have their own first-rounder. They have the Sacramento Kings first-rounder. They have the Clippers pick, which is lottery protected, and they have the Memphis Grizzlies pick. So there's potential for 4 first-round picks for next season for the Boston Celtics. That's tasty to any of these young teams that maybe have the one star. Think about a Charlotte like you're talking about. And what is it going to take to get Kemba Walker? If you throw Kyrie Irving into that, then I think it becomes a lot easier. But I think you can look around the league and even go to a place that may be thinking about starting to tear it down. Take Toronto, for example. Toronto might be looking to restart things here real soon as Kyle Lowry is 32 years old. DeMar DeRozan is good, but I think you've kind of seen that if you're not going to surround DeRozan with a better player, you're not going to win anything. Right. So you can take a bunch of picks like that and go scoop up a superstar who will probably fit better into the Celtics system, and then offer up like 2 first-round picks for next year, and someone will jump all over that. Someone looking to rebuild, that rebuilds you immediately.
Yeah, I think Danny Ainge is going to listen to anybody, and we talked about Kyrie. He was the thing he gives you is the end of the shot clock. Offense is awful. He can get you a basket, and that's the one thing Gordon Hayward's not going to be able to really do. Yeah. He does a little bit, and Tatum may be that guy. So if Tatum proves he can do it, and he kind of did a little bit, then okay, Kyrie becomes a little bit more expendable, and the injuries. You look at them a little closer, but, man, I keep going back to not being there for Game 7. I mean, that's just inexcusable. And the day after, there was no reports, so they didn't know really what was going on because it took a day or two before the story came out where if it was all everybody was happy, it would have been at the press conference. Where's Kyrie? He had to have the surgery. Here's why. It didn't come out like that.
It is.
I broke my nose back in high school. I mean, broke it bad. It was on the side of my face pretty much. I took an elbow playing backyard football. I didn't have surgery on it for like 2 weeks. So I think a deviated septum, something that is not life-threatening or anything like that by any means. People live with deviated septums forever. It's one of those things the doctor says, when you get around to it, maybe get this fixed. Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals is not that time.
Against your old team where you could – give pointers. You know, Rozier's really struggling. Hey, this is what I see out there. You're open for your 3, but it's not going in. Attack, you know, he's not closing out on you right. Attack him, get in, get a couple free throws, get going. It wouldn't have taken, 2 plays changes that game and changes the series. And I just, for him not to be there, it's just atrocious. I blame Krzyzewski. He's a Dookie, the brotherhood. They're all about each other. So it's typical Dookie that he's all about himself.
Well, Krzyzewski probably. Well, I only had him for 11 games.
Yeah, but so, I blame it.
I could only do so much. You see what I did for Tatum, though.
Yep, I blame it on him for being a Dookie versus knowing how to win going to Carolina.
Yeah, I think now we're gonna take a break. When we come back, the NBA Finals starts Thursday, and where do we think this is going to go? Most people have very low expectations, including a Cleveland Browns player who's ready to buy everybody a jersey. We talked about that yesterday. We'll come back and preview the NBA Finals next.